everybody joining us here live on Zoom and on Facebook. Welcome. We are talking about building wealth by investing in real estate. Happy to have you here this Saturday morning. I hope you have your coffee. My name is Kerry Scoville. I'm an agent with the Ihara team and work as a client care manager, and I love this topic today. I spent about 4 years with a local banking institution, so today will be totally fun for you guys. Our speaker today will be Dan Ihara, CEO of the Ihara team, and about 15 years of local real estate experience, and so a wealth of knowledge, and we're happy that you joined us today.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Welcome for coming. Appreciate you being here. And we trust that we'll bring some value to you today. And towards the end of this, we'd love to hear your feedback in regard to the value that I brought, maybe some ahas that you took out of the class today. So let's get started.
Awesome. So, first thing we want to ask for both everybody in Zoom and on Facebook, who owns investment property? If you don't mind just typing in the chat box, do you own right now? Or maybe you are thinking about your first one. Go ahead and give us a chat. Oh, we have 3.
Thanks, Joyce.
We have another investment owner as well, Joyce, yes? I would be looking at my first one.
All right.
Awesome, awesome, great. It's good to know. We are going to cover a lot. We are going to talk about, for those of you that have investments currently, really exciting because we're not just going to talk about theory. We're actually going to get a breakdown from Dan. So this will be really exciting. Cover a lot of topics, and the first one we want to touch upon when talking about building wealth through investment property is leverage. Dan, why don't you explain leverage for everybody?
Yeah, thanks. Real estate is a very unique asset to own, right? If you compare every asset out there, gold, stocks, bonds, all kinds of assets that will grow over time and also provide passive income, have its own set of risks and rewards. Though real estate is one of the very few ones, and the really reason why it's unique is it has a couple of unique properties that other assets may not have. For example, you can use leverage. Now, leverage is a concept whereby it's really an investment strategy of using borrowed money, somebody else's money, to increase some return that you have in the future in that investment, right? So real estate is one of the few assets. Let's just say if you wanted to buy, hey, United Airlines was a good price here a while ago, right? If you wanted to buy 100 shares of stock in United Airlines, whatever it would cost at the time, let's just say $500,000. Or $100,000, whatever it was, could you pay them? Do you have to pay all of that money or just part of it? Well, they're going to want all their money, right? They're not going to say, hey, just pay me just 25%. Well, real estate's one of those that you can actually leverage your investment through a low cost of the interest rates today. And that's what we're going to talk about. How do we create that leverage? How do we analyze the investment properties in real astute ways to understand what is it going to mean to me in the future? What does it mean for me today?
So what we're going to do is take a look at one of the first indicators that we look at in analyzing that investment property is we look at cap rate. Dan, if you would love to run through that for everybody, yeah. What is cap rate?
It's a simple gauge to determine economic viability of any real estate asset, right? What that is you take all of your annual net operating income, which is really all of your income minus all of your expenses every month times 12 gives you an annual net operating income. Now, when you divide that by a purchase price or the price that you're either trying to sell your current asset at or trying to buy one at, then that's that purchase price. When we use that formula, it determines how well that asset is going to be performing for us, right? For example, if you had a $1 million apartment building and you had $50,000 of annual net operating income. All the income minus expenses is your annual net operating income of $50,000. then your cap rate would look like 5%. Now, can you get 5% in Hawaii? You can, although it's not common, right? What is more common? 2, 3, 4%. Some of these clients that have had homes and didn't raise rent for a while, yeah, their income is lower, therefore our cap rate is lower. They're in the lower end of it. There are some, though, that they are performing fairly well, and we're going to today show you how we take real life examples, analyze them, and crunch the numbers so that you too can be able to do this on your own, or give us a call. We can work with you in finding the proper properties for you that make sense. You know, the first example here is, this is a multiple listing sheet, and everything circled is kind of what we're looking for. Let's start at the top right. When you look at this property, this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath sold at $288. Now that sounds like a really good deal, right? $288. I'm thinking, this could be a good investment property. Over on the left side, 690 square feet with a 351 square foot lanai, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1 parking, right? And it's built in 1960. Go to the right again, and you'll see a circle that says $845 for sewer and water. That's your maintenance fees, right? And that's going to have an impact to the numbers that you're going to see shortly. When we run an analysis on it, so anytime an investor calls us and says, I'm thinking of this property, we have an entire spreadsheet that's much more than this, but this is a simple form of it to determine its economic viability of that asset. So on the top right, you'll see 288, that's the purchase price. When we look at the income on the top, the monthly income is $1,800, sounds pretty good. Annual income is $21,600, that sounds pretty good. Everything looks good on the income side, but then when you look at the expenses, there's one number that stands out. That's the maintenance fee, right? So that's $845. When you look at all the expenses, that typically will be the largest expense you'll have on an asset like this, right? Then you look at the net operating income is $433, right, a month. So, hey, if you bought it in cash at $288, you would make $433 a month. You're at net. Every year, you make $16,000 a month. You know, thinking of it that way, that doesn't look too bad, right? If that money's just sitting there not doing anything, it could actually generate income, right? Well, it boils down to be on a 1.8% cap rate. Seems to be, as I mentioned earlier, a little on the lower side, right? But initially, at the first glance, when we first looked at this, Carrie, we looked at the price and we looked at the income. We thought everything was well until we got to the maintenance fees. So then we said, oh, maybe there's a better way. Here's another example on a different extreme. Now, this is in a different location. It's on Ewa Beach. This one's actually more expensive, right? This is $345, right? So what is that? $65,000 more money, right, to buy. Though the biggest thing is the maintenance fee. Take a look at the maintenance fee on your right quarter there. $303 is your maintenance fee on this model. Now you look to the left, this is a big 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath unit. It's 1,300 square foot with a 52 square foot lanai, built 1972, right? So it's got guest parking and assigned 1 parking. Now when we analyze the numbers though, the list price of $345, you got an annual income of $27,600. Not a lot more though, but it was. But look at your net operating income now. Now you're looking at $1,400 a month or $16,000 a year. And when you determine the cap rate, now we're looking at 4.9% cap rate. Now we're looking at something that seems to draw a little bit of interest, right? So that's kind of how we would look at the investment property through a cap rate. Any questions or any comments on that? Hey, John. I'd like to introduce you to John Davis here. John Davis is our guest, Oahu Home Loans. So if you have any questions on borrowing money, this is your man. This is the man. And actually, we will have a few questions for you, John. I'm sure we will. All right. So when we compare apples and apples, meaning investment property and investment property, we can compare them by address, neighborhood, year built, the type of unit, price, interior square footage. When you look at the gross income, there's about $6,000 more gross income there, and also $6,000 less expense, right? So that gives you $12,000 benefit compared to the previous Spreckle Street property.
So seeing it side by side is huge, because at first blush, again, like
Right.
the income, the rentability coming in from that unit in town looked really good, right? And you might be able to see, okay, hey,
That did.
I could get somebody that works at UH, loves to run to the Puno Carnival, the rental income looks great, but when you really know what you're looking for,
Yeah.
and being able to do the analysis and put them side by side like that, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, this is a small portion of what we call the asset performance test. So normally what we do is when somebody comes to us and says, I'm thinking of selling my investment property, doing a 1031 exchange, what we do is we take a look and we do an asset performance test on their property and also on their replacement property. And then we can do a quick analysis to determine, we obviously want to improve our position financially. So we want to see our cap rate rise, right? We want to see it rise.
Perfect. And so now at our first glance, we did a look at the cap rate to see if there's anything worth looking for. And then now let's take a look at that cash flow. This is what really gets people excited, right?
Yeah, that picture alone, just stare at it long enough, kind of makes you smile, right? Who doesn't smile on that, right? So another way to look at the investment property is through cash flow. Now, we covered the top portion, right? Now, if you think of cash flow as being your cap rate, if you're buying it 100% cash, right? And in this case, on the Spreckle Street property, your cash flow is going to look like annually $5,197, right? On that property. When you look at your cash flow and you consider, well, what if I got to put a mortgage on this thing? I don't want to buy it in cash. I'm going to get a mortgage. Minimum amount of mortgage, your down payment you need is 25%. So take a look at that column. Your 25% down payment, you're at almost a $7,000 negative cash flow. And the way you calculate that is you take your net operating income of 5,197, right? And that's your income, but look at your expense, your mortgage. That's $12,188. That's how you get to the negative. So as you can see, this asset, if somebody came to us and says, hey, I want to buy an investment property, I love this property, I want to be by that area, I want a positive cash flow, you're going to need quite a bit down. In fact, if not very close to 100% down, because even 65% down, you're still looking at $590 negative, right? So keep that in mind. Now, another way to analyze investment properties, and fortunately for me, I was blessed to be in a private meeting with Gary Keller's his investor, and he talked about cash on cash return, and it really lit my eyes open to understand really how do the wealthy take a look at their money, right? How do they manage their money? And they only look on cash return. Basically, cash on cash return says, for the amount of cash that I'm going to invest, how much cash is it going to provide me? Okay, how much cash is that going to provide me? So if you look at the first one, down in the 25% down, right down straight in the middle on the very bottom, it says $81,000 total investment, which is your down payment, all your closing costs, your loans and points, $81,000. That's what you're investing, your total investment of cash, right? What does that earn you? Well, it earns you $5,197. Or I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, $5,197. That's the amount of cash that's generating. So you're going to be negative. You're going to be a negative cash flow, right? Probably not a good one to look at. Let's take a look at another one. The same property we talked about earlier. This one had a 4.9% cap rate, very, very good on today's market. extremely good. To be in the high fours is absolutely a great deal. Most of them where we see now is 2, 3, and some in the 4s, but not hardly anything in the 5s. Now, when you look at the cash flow at 25, just putting 25% down, okay, just putting 25% down, you have a $2,300 cash flow, positive cash flow, right? $2,300 down. So imagine if you wanted to put, what is that down payment on that? 25%. I don't see that number. Oh yeah,
About 86,000.
So if you had $97,000 in the bank, for example, in this case, if you had $97,000 in the bank just doing nothing, how much is that money earning you? Anybody guess? What's the interest rate in the bank? 1%? John, any idea? What do you get in the bank?
0.0001 or something.
No, really? No, don't tell me that.
1% where?
Okay, so I'm going to get my money out of there, then, right? Because it doesn't do anything for us. It's sitting there and it's not doing anything for us. What if we use that term earlier, leverage? Right? What if we took that 97,000 just sitting there, right? What is that going to do for us? Well, if you look further down on the cash-on-cash return, it's going to give you a 2.38% return versus, what was it, 0.001 or something? Some really low number. So this is how the wealthy build wealth, is they leverage their money. They take whatever they have. Obviously, in this case, you kind of have to have money to build money, right? You got to have the cash. So this may not be for everybody, but if you have the wherewithal, the financial ability, the money sitting in the bank, that not bad. That could be a much better option, right? And that's what we're doing. A lot of folks are coming to us after they see this analysis. They go, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And this is money that I could use to help future generations. I could take trips for this. You know, there's $2,300, as little as it is. Hey, you know, I could take a nice trip every year for something like that. Or what if you put, you know, say 45% down, right? You had $160,000, $66,000. Now you're at $6,000 a year, positive cash flow. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that money that's sitting in the bank is not doing anything for you as a relative to this, right? As it is to this. So it's really
Dan,
up to you.
And that's a great point. And I think, you know, and I love staring at spreadsheets. I think they're pretty cool. Don't laugh at me. But you know what? Money in the bank is one thing, but the benefit, and this is titled Building Wealth Through Real Estate. Well, one of the benefits of home ownership is, should you look at your home as a savings account? Let's say I don't have a lot of money in my savings account, but I own a home, right? And so it's about leverage, and going back to leverage, and how do you leverage your asset? Because if you own your home for a while, you have a lot of equity, that's your savings account. What is that equity? What is that money doing for you? And JD, maybe you can talk through maybe some options for people out there that are how do they access it? What could they do?
Thanks, Carrie. Sorry, I was researching savings rates really quickly. 0.001 sounds like the conveyance tax. That's how I tell people about that. But I'm sorry, the question was on how to on savings.
How to access? Let's say maybe they don't have the liquid cash in the savings, but they do own a home and with a bunch of equity there.
Right. Well, home equity lines of credit obviously you're able to tap into funds relatively quickly, up to 80% of your home's value, without having to refinance your home. So, and there are some really good teaser rates out there and specials that will keep your cash flow low. Yeah, interest-only payments that are fixed for 10 years. Yeah, and promotional rates are out there to take advantage of as well.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're finding a lot of folks. You know, many of our older clients too. They pay their house off, right? They got a $1.3 million house. It's a a gold mine sitting there, but you're not tapping into it to leverage other future growth, other income. So imagine taking a small piece of whatever's sitting under your house, which is the asset, the home equity line of credit. You can get $250,000 without an appraisal. Is that still true?
Yes,
You
it
can
is,
get
as a matter of fact.
$250,000 without having an appraisal on your property, should you have enough equity, right?
They're very low
You can
cost.
get much more than that. What
Yeah.
is the max you can get out of your house?
There are some programs that go up to $500,000. Closing
Wow.
costs are a little higher,
Yeah.
but they're designed to be quick and easy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just another opportunity, right? Obviously, a lot of folks have cash. What we're actually seeing now is some people are kind of fed up with the stock market, and some of them had cashed out at the peak and right before it dipped again, right? So those folks, cash is king, and you can use your cash like this to build leverage to build wealth. Right?
And I think it's options, right? And just kind of, you work so hard throughout your life to plan ahead, do the right thing, right? Make your money, make your hard work then work for you using leverage, right? So, and then give JD a call at Oahu Home Loans or call us as well if you kind of wanted to think about that a little further.
Yeah.
One of the next topics, as we're coming off of cash flow, we're going to be talking about the other aspect of it. We're going to be looking at appreciation. Dan, why don't you share a little bit about that?
Nationally, we're looking at an average between 3 to 5%. On Oahu, for the last 20 years, we're looking at just around 5%, right? So we know that assets will appreciate over time, right? There are ups and downs in the market, and let's take a look at that, right? And this is the last, since 1987, right? When 1987, imagine the median sell price. Imagine if you bought something in 1987, Carrie, at $165,000, and today it's worth what? About $800,000, $750,000. That's crazy, right? Right? That's amazing. So this growth, the initial growth in this chart, it peaked out in 1990. What happened after the peak? It took a bit of a dip. But you notice it didn't dip much, right? It did dip, but not like it did in other parts of the country. Now, it leveled off and then it came back up, but that recession, what was that? That's 14 years to get back to the same number. So over time, asset will continue to grow. So this is like a tree, right? 20 years ago. What was the best time to buy your first investment property? 20 years ago. Same thing. So when you see the next cycle from 2007, right? That next recession took only 7 years. But look at the growth over 2009 time period to now. Yeah, that's an enormous growth. The dip that we saw in the last one, that was the biggest recession we saw recent times. In Hawaii, it was only 7%. Now, parts of California, parts of Arizona, Nevada, Florida, they lost 40, 50, 60% of values. So we only lost 7% at the worst case scenario. So know that real estate in Hawaii is a safe investment over time, but make sure you have a strategy. And that's one of the things we talk about is trying to create a long-term strategy, not just by, we're not just realtors, we're talking about just buying and selling. We're looking at how do we help you build wealth and over time, right? What does that look like?
And a quick shout out to our team, Chris Lowe, our listing manager, working hard for our clients in office today. Thank you, Chris.
Getting all those listings on.
And when you talk about trends, Dan, and the timing and that 7 to 10, 12 years, people looking at investing in the market or thinking about the market right now and what's going on. Before we move on to depreciation, maybe if you had some thoughts about that. Because I know there's two types, people really, they're looking at either buying and flipping or buying and holding.
Yes.
Maybe strategy wise, what are things they should consider?
In this market, the the buy and flips make a lot of sense when we already see signs where the market's shifting and the values are going up, right? At that point, that makes a lot of sense. So we did a number of buy and flips over the last several years, and the last couple were a little scary, only because the market stopped going up again, right? So it started kind of leveling off, and we got out of it. We made money. We didn't make as much as we wanted to, though. You know, buying and flipping, you don't make your money going out, you make your money going in, right? It's all about what you buy the asset at. And now you might be able to buy them well. And so to answer your question, Carrie, there are always deals out there. There's just less of those deals around. Now our buyer's agents, they're hunters and gatherers. So we have a number of them that we've seen, like in these examples, as you've seen, as good investments for both the buy and flip, but also the buy and hold. Now, most of our clients are actually looking at the long-term game plan, right? Building wealth through real estate is not something that happens overnight. This takes time. It's building wealth over time, right? And that's what the value of the asset is. So to answer your question, I'd say a majority of them are still doing buy and holds. There are a handful of them that have a little bit more risk tolerance, a little bit more experience. And even we are looking at buy and flip properties today. We just looked at one yesterday. So it's not like we're not doing it. It's just that the safer bet is the buy and hold if you have the assets. If you're looking for quick cash, buy and flip could work if you get it at the right price. All right, another topic is depreciation. So I am not a CPA. These are just general thoughts that I put down here just because this is what we've heard from CPAs. But what we always ask is that you consult with your CPA to understand what your financial situation will be for you. Now, the thing about real estate is you can depreciate an investment property or any property that you own, like your house, but only the portion that you have exclusively used for business. Exclusively, meaning you have an office in your room and nothing happens in that office except work, and you can prove that, yeah, I'm told that you could potentially depreciate that. And it really basically overall lowers your tax responsibility and liability. Now, know that depreciation, it does not involve the value of the land. Depreciation only takes into consideration the value of the improvement, the house. What they do is they take the building value and they just divide it by 27.5 years to determine your depreciation expense, okay? So just know that there's other benefits that you have with real estate that maybe other assets does not have, right? And so you talk to your CPA and they can better help you understand how that's going to impact you.
Awesome. You know what, this next topic, I think, is something that really, you know, I've mentioned about prior banking experience. This topic really drew me into real estate itself and to the team. It's really close to our heart, near and dear to our heart. When you're looking at building wealth through real estate, there's always a why. And your why might be, how do I create a legacy? And we do something I think is really special. Dan, why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, over time, we've been working with a lot of older adults, and many of these older adults have wealth in real estate, and they're just not sure what to do with it. And I guess the question comes, how many of you put in the chat box if in your comment in Facebook, if you have ever heard of a family whose kids fought over real estate after mom and dad died? Yeah. Anybody hear of a family that fought over real estate after mom and dad died? Yeah, it kind of happens a lot, right? But you kind of wonder why it is. Well, part of that is in another class we talk about in these trusts that are created, but it's also about planning, right? Planning for their assets. See, your stocks and bonds and other liquid forms of financial wealth is really easy to divide, right? You can divide that to almost like the penny to the, you know, so everyone feels like they get a fair shake in it, right? The problem comes when real estate. Real estate, again, one of the unique properties about real estate is it's really hard to divide, right? It's really hard to divide. You know, I had a guy call me, came up to me one day and said, "Oh, don't worry about my house because I'll give it to my kids." I said, "Oh, great. Let's talk about that. So your kids have children." I said, "Oh yeah, they're all married. They all got kids." "Oh, great. So is anybody living there?" "Oh yeah, one of them's living there." I said, "Okay, great. So how are all three of those families going to share one property?" "Oh, I don't know. They'll figure it out." Oh boy. I'm not sure what's going to happen when he passes away, how they're going to figure that out. How do you divide real estate? You got three families, they all want to live there, and or one wants to live there and the rest want their money. Now what happens? Well, the two that don't live there say they want their money. Mom and dad's gone. This is an asset we're supposed to share. How do we get it? And if that one that's living there can't buy them out, then what happens? Now you have a dispute, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I see this every single week. Every single week do we have families come to us with family disputes over assets that mom and dad owned, but they didn't live in. These are mom and dad's investment properties. So, well, gosh, about 10 years ago, we created a model based on a client that we created an opportunity for her. So imagine mom has 4 children. You know, she's a widow. They had an investment property. Let's just say it's an apartment building for now, right? And mom has 4 kids, Grant, Lucy, George, and Ann, and everything's fine, right? Everything's fine. And mom's still alive. The kids really don't know much about the apartment building because they don't really need to talk about it. You know, most people don't talk about assets like that, right? And in most cases, when mom and dad pass away, we obviously have challenges, right? What if Grant says, "Well, I'm the successor trustee, it says to sell it." And then what if Lucy says, "Well, I'm kind of emotionally attached to it." What if George says, "Oh no, now is not the right, not a good market, let's hold on to it." And Ann says, "Well, no, I want to sell it. My kids got to go to college." Now what happens? What happens to that family? What happens to the asset? Well, what happens from our experience is they don't do anything for a very long time until it gets to a point where somebody gets upset that nothing's happening, because the trust document is very clear. It says it must be liquidated and dispersed evenly. The problem with the trust document doesn't say when. Most trust documents don't have a time period by which the successor trustee has to execute on that instruction. So because there's no time frame, he wants to keep family peace, and so he doesn't do anything until one of them says, "You know what? I need the money now. My mortgage is due. My kids got to go to college. I need the money now. You're going to sell it." Now, if that one individual says, "You're going to sell it," actually they can force the sale. They can make it a partition, meaning nobody can withhold the sale of real estate if they have an interest in it, can withhold the sale of that home. So let's say Ann said, "No, I need that money for the kids. You're going to sell it. In fact, I have an attorney. I'm going to force you to sell it." She can actually do that and she'll probably win. It's expensive, it takes long, it's painful, and it's ugly. And now you've just divided the family. Okay? We never want that. Nobody ever wants that. But that's so common of a scenario that I've seen. It's unfortunate. So how do you solve that problem? What if mom said, "Hey guys, I got a plan. Here's a plan. I have this asset and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell it and I'm going to do a 1031 exchange." What that means, kids, is let's say the asset's worth $1 million, just for round numbers. What this means, kids, Grant, Lucy, George, and Ann, all 4 of you, you can predetermine your inheritance today. For after I die, you will get it. And the way this works is, I'm going to sell this $1 million asset, and you're going to have $250,000 to buy a piece of real estate anywhere in the United States. It has to be within a certain time period, because if you don't execute within a certain time period, your rights to this asset, your decision rights to this asset are gone. You're still going to get the asset, but I'm going to make the decision for you. Right? I'm not going to fail on my 1031 exchange. See, because if mom sells that piece of real estate and she does not do a 1031 exchange, she's subject for capital gains taxes at state and federal levels at a very large number, right? So why throw that money away where your family generations to come can appreciate that? So mom says to the kids, Grant, Lucy, George, and Ann, are you guys in? Avery says, yeah, I'm excited. Wow, let's go do this, right? What happens to the family? You're bringing the family together now. You're not dividing the family. You're bringing them together. Grant saying, hey, Lucy, what are you going to buy? Grant saying, Ann, what are you going to buy? Look at the energy that mom's creating within her own family. See, because mom doesn't need the money. She's going to pass it to the kids anyways. Wouldn't it be great if mom could appreciate and enjoy and see and witness the gratitude from their kids and their grandkids? We're creating this opportunity now for many, many families to create a legacy with their real estate. See, because real estate is one of those things that will continue forever if it's planned properly. So mom says, I'm gonna do the 1031 exchange. George says, well, I want one in Mililani because that's where I live. And, I want to drive by it every once in a while. Lucy says, I'm in Florida. One of my daughters going to Miami University and, she needs a place to stay. Hey, maybe we'll buy an investment property there and let her stay there. And Grant says, yeah, I want one by my office. And Ann, see, you can do a 1031 exchange in any state in America. So that's the reason why it's so popular today, because most of our families don't live in the same community anymore. You see, this apartment building in Mo'iliili, do they really want that apartment building in Mo'iliili? Or do they want one where their kids are? Well, I can tell you that most people would rather have an asset near them or something that would benefit them. Right? So imagine Christmas now, and all the grandkids coming around, and they say to mom, Grandma, thanks so much for helping us buy that apartment. Thanks, Grandma, for helping us, plan for the future. And the kids have a lot less stress now, because at the end of the day, when mom, heaven forbid, passes away, now all these assets flow directly to her children, tax-free. See, the only way to avoid capital gains tax is die or go to jail. Unfortunately, those are the two options for you, right? Die or go to the jail. And we know that at some point we're going to leave this planet, right? And wouldn't we want our next generation to be in a better position when we're gone? Do you ever want your kids fighting? Because that's what happens. I got to tell you, I get so many horrible, heart-wrenching phone calls for people that aren't talking to their siblings anymore because of the division of real estate. A lot of families chat with them, talk to them, create a legacy with your real estate, right? Because
hey Dad,
imagine, when you're,
hey Dad,
I'm 57 now. Yes.
You were
Yes.
glitching a little bit. Could you just repeat
Oh.
that last part you're talking about?
I forget what I was talking about.
Sorry.
What was I talking about, Gary?
I think it's a good, just kind of recapping that example of families and leaving a legacy for their kids. But I'm with you. I talk to my aunties, and friends, families, and everybody here locally, right? The kids will want it, right? And so I think what we do and having the experience of helping families plan this out, I used to coach baseball. I used to tell the kids, hey, to be on practice on time, you catch the early bus.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's never too early to plan. It's never too early to ask yourself questions like, what does the future look like for my family? And
Yes.
what are options in regards to creating a legacy, building wealth for the future generation?
Yeah, what we're finding is we're getting a lot of people in our generation thinking about, they're seeing their aunties and uncles, and they're seeing their cousins, seeing their aunties and uncles pass away, and then they see the fallout after they're gone. And you see their cousins fighting all the time because of real estate. And they say, there's got to be a better way. Well, there is, but it takes planning. And this is something that doesn't happen overnight. This is deep conversations, right? Transparency and a way to help bind the family together versus separate them, right? And at the end of the day, as a parent, and Julie and I are both parents of 3 young boys, not young anymore. But we'll never want them to fight. And, if we have a favoritism, then we're creating that fight, right? I had one guy, Carrie, say to me, hey, Dan, I'm just going to, he comes in, he says, oh, I got 3 kids. I go, oh, great. So tell me about your kids. He goes, oh, I got a daughter. She comes out and helps every once in a while. And I got a son. He's doing very well in his work. Then I have this other guy. I go, tell me about the other guy. Right? He said, well, he doesn't come around. I'm just going to cut him off. I said, oh, okay. I'm sure you have a reason for that. I'm sure you do. Though, in the end of the day, when you're gone, do you want your kids to love each other or hate each other? Do you want them to support each other or despise each other? What do you want? I said, well, of course I want them to love each other. Well, absolutely. Every father and parent wants their kids to love each other when we're gone. Support each other, right? That's what families are about. But I said to him, see, if you ice that one child out, what is he going to think about his siblings? See, because you're gone, he's going to blame their siblings. And that's going to create a divide between your family. Do you really want that? And he says, you know what? I never really thought about it that way. Maybe I got to start rethinking the way I approach the future and what I want when I'm gone. And that's that whole conversation about legacy. Really, it's a deep dive into what do I want when I'm gone and what do I want it to look like and how do I get there? That's just a little section of that legacy.
Oh, so in wrapping up, I think you're really taking a look at your heart and understanding your why, because everybody would have something different, and leaving something for your family might be one, or it might be just having a better lifestyle for yourself right now, right? And then right here is a great quote. Warren Buffett says, never depend on a single income, make investment to create a second source. So Dan, and just in a recap, why don't you just recap for us, why build wealth through real estate?
Yeah, number one is an appreciation, right? That asset you buy today will appreciate over time. It's proven over time, right? It will appreciate. So it's growing, right? It would grow on its asset. Until that asset's going to grow. You don't have to go to work every day for it to grow. And that's the difference. The wealthy build wealth, passive income. So we all have active income. You and I, well, many of us who are working, that's that active income. We got to work every day. We got to wake up, go to work, do something to generate income. That's active income. Well, the wealthy people, what they say is, well, I want another person that I know very well, a very wealthy person. He says, well, once you get 5 sources of income that equate to the amount of active income you have, do you really need to work? No, because you have the same amount of income without working. Why work, right? Well, that's the goal of many folks, of building wealth through real estate, to have the life worth living, to do what you want to do with the time you have on this planet, with whom you want to have it with. Right? So that's appreciation. Cash flow is the money every month, right? Every year. Now that's money coming to you without you going to work every day, right? Cash flow. And then building equity, very similar to appreciation, right? That thing is going to grow over time, but that asset, and if you take a mortgage out, every time you pay the mortgage, and if you pay a little bit more to the principal, you're building equity, right? And again, this is one of the few assets that has great tax benefits. Right? And you want to talk to your CPA at what that means to you. Lastly, it's just a tool that we can help you create a legacy, to create generational wealth for your family and for those you love.
So this has been a really great time. We love these informational webinars and seminars because it's a great mastermind session. As people have questions, always we're still open to questions. So please ask in your chat, but we can learn from each other and each other's experience. Now, if there's something personal that you had a question in your mind, like, gosh, okay, I get the theory of it, but how do I apply that myself? What do we do, Dan?
Yeah, we try to keep things simple. It's just 5 quick steps. One, you want to understand your situation. A lot of that, when clients come into our office and we talk, they think they understand their situation until I ask enough questions to make them really think about what the situation really is, right? How does it impact those around them? And sometimes it's an aha for them that their situation is maybe a little different from what they thought coming into the conversation. Right, so identifying your situation, then identifying all the challenges in the way. What are the challenges that are you're facing to grow and build wealth, right? What's in the way, and how do we remove those obstacles, right? And then really understanding and clarifying your goals. We really want to ask the question, what's the big why? Carrie brings that up often. We all have a big reason for our existence. Why are we doing what we're doing? And because once we have a clarity and anchor into the big why of what we're doing, then it's so much easier to move forward in that direction. But without a clarity on your goal, it's really hard to do so. So and a lot of that happens through conversation, right? And then really it's understanding what options are available. What routes do I go? There's a million different ways to do this, guys. A million different ways. There are some that are going to be easy, some that are going to be hard, some that are going to be high risk, some that are going to be low risk, some that are going to be high return, some that are going to be low return. It just depends what you're interested in, and we can share with you all those different options. And then we just create a plan with a timetable and a professional team around you. If you need to get a loan, we'll tie you up there and get you pre-approved, and so that we can understand the numbers. Mainly, when you're looking at investment properties, a lot of that's just in the numbers, right? There's going to be a little bit of emotion into some people's mind, but frankly speaking, what we suggest to people is you really want to take a look at it as a pure investment, right? Pure investment, right? Because the question I always ask them is, are you planning on living there? Now, if you're not planning on living there, then really, what do you care about that asset other than your return and your future expenses and your future income, right? And so that's what we want to look at. Like, what is it going to look like down the road, right, based on what it looks like today? Yeah. And then really we just execute on that strategy. Okay. See, because we have a saying in our world, nobody succeeds alone. We have a large team, and everybody on our team is important, and everyone provides a huge value to our clients' experience.
Oh, perfect. So, the best thing to do if you're looking for that always free, private, no obligation strategy session is to strategy session to 808-225-5866. And we can make sure that you're added to the calendar for a chat. And JD, what's the best way if they had questions on financing, maybe a refinance with the historically low rates, or home equity line questions? How do they get in touch with you?
Thank you, Gary. I'll add my contact information to the chat, and I appreciate the referrals. I know that your team has been, as part of the team, you're connecting our company with potential buyers, investors, and first-time buyers across the board. So I'll put that information up. It's a quick phone call or an email and a chat, just to, again, find out your situation and determine how we can help.
Great. Thanks. So in wrapping up, some of you have been on other these webinars, and you've heard this before. For those who are not, we started in real estate 15 years ago. I think it was this month, actually, 15 years ago this month. I started in real estate. Then a year later, Julie, my wife, joined me, and then we just started growing and kept growing into our organization today, which is a team of highly trained, highly compassionate individuals. There's 28 of us now that have systems and models and tools to provide repeatable results for our clients. And oh, there's my beautiful wife. Is that Randy behind you? He's at home working.
No, it's Mikey's studying.
Oh, okay. That's our oldest son there studying. And yeah, so we really found a calling to help people create generational wealth. You know, we look at it as, you know, what can we do to better the world and better the ones we love? And this is one way we can do it. We started High Property Management a number of years ago. We have about 150 doors that we manage for those investors. So question is, if you buy an investment, what do you do? Well, we can already determine what we think we can get in a rental income, and we can tie you up, connect you with our property management firm as well, right? And then Stage Hawaii is our staging company that we make properties look good before we sell them. Senior Move Managers, Declutter Hawaii, it's a company we started 10 years ago, and we've served, gosh, almost 800 families now, going through moving from their home to somewhere else. So oftentimes, even investors who maybe the tenant just left the house and just left all that stuff, the Declutter Hawaii goes in and clears it out, right? So it's a total complete solution. If you're an investor, if you want to buy, sell, invest, or rent in real estate, or move. Lastly, Silver Spoons is our nonprofit that was designed to help older adults who cannot help themselves.
Great. We have some really continuing the thought and the sharing of information. I hope this has been a valuable time for everyone. We do have some upcoming webinars, so we'll be talking about selling in uncertain times, the 5 biggest mistakes veteran and military home buyers make, building wealth through, we'll do a deep dive on that 1031 exchange. And again, super interesting. I love the data and seeing how it all works. It's a really, really great webinar. And the 10 steps to buying a home. And so if you are a first-time home buyer out there, especially during this time and seeing an opportunity in prices and with those trends, that would be a great webinar to join us. You can register at our Eventbrite page. And also, we'll kind of show you a little bit, but you can check out our schedule on our website, iharateamhawaii.kw.com.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, that 10 steps to buying a home. If you're thinking of buying, you definitely want to dial into that one. And closing off, you know, we have a mission statement that really says we're here for a purpose, and it's really to honor God by serving others with the highest level of competency, care, and compassion with uncompromising integrity. All right. And
yeah, so you know, again, a free strategy session. You know, you can definitely use the chat box on Facebook as well. You know, best thing to do really. You know, Dan, forward this slide 1 second for me there.
Forward. Listen.
Perfect. This is the best contact information to get on the calendar if you're curious, even if you just had a couple of questions. You know, give us a call. You can reach me at 808-798-5549 or email me at carries@iharateam.com. And your feedback is super appreciated and valued. You know, like Dan mentioned earlier, no one succeeds alone. We'd love to hear your feedback, what you liked about the information today. Maybe we didn't cover something that you'd like to hear about in a future seminar and webinar. Let us know. So we'll make sure that feedback form is in the chat box, and we appreciate any and all feedback. Awesome. And these are some pictures, so you know where you're going to and looking at. You can find us, follow us, and kind of keep in step with what we're doing on Facebook and Instagram. Please give us a like, a share if this has been of value to you, or any of the content and videos that are out there. We try, you know, to provide value, but also to have fun. And so if there's anything out there that you really like, please go ahead and share that with your friends and family through social media platforms. And then also, again, our website, iharateamhawaii.kw.com, you'll find not only our webinar schedule, you'll find a recording of this. And so if you had a family member that couldn't attend, you can send them to our site where all this would be uploaded and recorded, as well as on Facebook. But our site is really great. You'll find recordings, our schedule, but you can do a property search, a home search anywhere on island, but anywhere in the US as well. And it gives you a really neighborhood specific data. So as an investor, really important stuff to understand trends, because the market could change just by crossing the street, right? And so our site is really a really great tool for active investors and people that are thinking about real estate.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, if this was of value, you felt it was of value, please share that with in social media. We'd love to kind of get more information out to more people. You know, the goal is really to provide information, and hopefully at some point, then somebody might need some help, and you know, reach out, and we'll be able to help them as well. So I think we're wrapping up on time. Oops, sorry.
Yeah,
that was the last slide, right?
that is everything.
Wow,
We appreciate your
we-
time today for joining us. Dan, thank you so much for all that information.
Thanks, Gary.
I want to thank John Davis, JD, with us, and Julie Ihara for holding down the fort in the home office and just making sure that all those guys are in line.
You all did very well. All in line.
Yes. Yeah, look, we're all in line.
But if anybody had any questions before we go for today, you know, again, we thank you for joining us. But please, we'll hang out for a bit and answer any questions if you might have, and type it in the chat box on Zoom or on Facebook.